Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 15 of the 25 Giro d'Italia. Today's stage looks like an interesting stage, but it should be one for the breakaway riders if you went to bed last night and you looked at the profile, because we have three categorized climbs. But the stage is 219 kilometers, I'll call it 125 miles in length. With the three categorized climbs that I was talking about, we see the first one, it's not very long, about just over 1 kilometer, but we're talking a stick of a climb of 10 and 12% all the way up to the top earlier in the stage. Now we go back past that, we start going into 115 kilometers ago. We got Monte Grappa there, and that climb is 25 kilometers long. This one's a monster of a climb. It's going to summit, drop down a descent, and then a little valley, and then of course we come into the last climb with about 45 kilometers to go. That last climb's 16 kilometers long, and it's a bit, not quite a stick. I'll kind of call it a category 2 climb like it's listed because it's 5.3%. So when you start looking at that last climb, you realize that it summits with about 25 kilometers to go. Well, a lot of things can happen in 25 kilometers, but without it summiting means that it could be a stage that the GC guys go, wow, we don't want to get to the finish of that 25 kilometers going up that climb and then have to find a way to get 25 kilometers into the finish line, because you can't really predict if you have teammates at the finish of that last climb of today's stage 15. So when the cameras come on, if we back the cameras up first into yesterday's stage 14, remember there's a big crash. Then it came in with about 22 kilometers to go on the narrow road where we saw Primoz Roglic hit the ground. Del Toro got held up, said he crashed, but looks like he got more held up than crashing. And then we see Egan Bernal, that's tied in there, of course, with the pink jersey, where he went down just underneath the pink jersey behind him, but the pink jersey seemed to land on the Lidl Trek ride. I'll call it Dan Uhl. So the pink jersey made himself back up into the front group and made time on Primoz Roglic. Egan Bernal lost time. Tibieri from Bahrain Victorious lost a ton of time. So the general classification is looking a little bit safer for Del Toro at just about 2 minutes and 25 seconds ahead of Primoz Roglic. His closest competition, though, Simon Yates, is sitting second on the GC, and Ayuso got bumped to third. So when we get into the stage, as soon as it starts proper, attacks happening right away, and it's the big guys up there throwing in attacks, because we see Visma Lease bikes, Wout van Aert's throwing in attacks, we see Mads Pedersen throwing in attacks, and we see yesterday's stage winner, Casper Asgreen, having some problems. He's back at the car. What happened? Well, when you see him looking at the car's going to hand him something. When he hands him something, I can assume because of the conversation he had with the car where he said he hit his knee on the handlebar, that it's got to be some kind of pain medication right here to help out. Now, what happens and why does this happen? Well, first off, it's really easy to slip a gear, especially when you start pedaling hard, you're jumping out of the corners. If the rear cassette slips a gear with the derailleur and the chain there not hooking up properly, your body goes forward, your knee goes into the handlebars. I remember doing that when I was riding for Lotto Destiny, and I had to go to the Basque Country and drop out of the Basque Country because of, while I was in training, when the gear slipped and I hit my knee on the handlebar, it still hadn't healed 3 days later, and I had to drop out of the Basque Country after stage 1. So this is the serious injury that could possibly evolve and get worse and worse as we're here, of course, at the Giro d'Italia. Now, we fast forward, the pace is still blowing up back there like crazy. We come into 175 kilometers to go. We're hitting that first climb of today's stage 15. Peloton is blazing up the climb. They go over the top and the peloton's blown up in pieces. Guys, it's blown up everywhere and they're attacking left, right, and center at the front of the peloton. And we find Tibieri, Bahrain Victorious, back there with his teammates chasing like crazy, trying to close the gap. We look up at the front group that's still getting attacked left and right. We see Del Toro made the front group. Primoz Roglic is in the front group, Egan Bernal's up there, and Juan Ayuso's up there, Simon Yates is up there. So all the GC favorites are up there, but when we start looking at that second group with Bahrain Victorious, Tibieri's back there, and he's got his teammates on the front driving it like crazy. Brandon McNulty, UAE team members in that back group, and a bunch of other UAE team members, Super Domestiques, are in there. But you go back up to the front, and like I already told you, Ayuso is in the front group, and Del Toro, the pink jersey's up there. With that in mind, you have to be incredibly calm and don't get carried away if you're wearing the pink jersey and you're the young Mexican kid Del Toro at this moment. You got most of your teammates behind. There's no reason to get carried away here. So eventually we're going to see 35 riders go up the road, and Pello Bilbao's in that front group from Bahrain Victorious. But back to film up a little bit, he was attacking a lot. I don't know if I like the idea of Pello Bilbao attacking when Tibieri is back there chasing. But Pello Bilbao's made that front group. Del Toro has one teammate in there. Igor Arieta's in there. Explorer Hansgrohe have 2 teammates in there. Danny Martinez made the front group, and Aliotte, I believe, is the second one up there in this group of 35 riders. But most importantly, Movistar have Einar Rubio up there, and he's about 4.5 minutes back on the general classification, so he's the biggest threat up in this group of 35, but it's Einar Rubio, so Del Toro wisely is not panicking right now. 35 riders up there's got to be difficult, especially when Movistar have 3 teammates there, and Formulo's one of them, and then Cepeda's the other. With that in mind, that means that Einar Rubio could start putting 2 guys on the front. When we look at Astana, they have the KOM jersey in there, Fortunato, and he's got 3 teammates with him. So 4 guys from Astana in this front group, and multiple other teams have multiple riders in there. So this front group of 35 could really go fast, but they don't gel. When they're not gelling, that means we go back and look at the peloton with UAE team members on the front. They're taking it easy, backing off, which means Bahrain Victorious can come back together. Bahrain Victorious was chasing for 25 kilometers. We're 75 kilometers into the race when the break went away, and so you probably bring us into about 85 when everything comes back together with Bahrain Victorious and company. Now all the GC guys are back there. UAE team members are setting a steady pace back there, not even worried about Einar Rubio up there in this group of 35. Now, if this group worked well together, they can gain some time, and they need some time because, of course, you got UAE team members back there, and who knows what the other teams will want to do tactically. But up front, are they working well together? They're not working well together. In fact, Movistar go up the road with Cepeda and Formulo, and then they get a little bit of company with 4 or 5 other riders. They get us 6, 7 riders in this front group, but Einar Rubio's in the back group back there. Well, they're just wasting time right now. They're getting the gap up to about 3.5 minutes, but they're really wasting time. And then finally the 2 groups come back together. They reform that group of 35 up there. And we see another attack with about 110 kilometers to go. We see Vasek. We see Conchi from Astana in that group. And we see De Preto up there from Jaco Lula. These 3 riders are attacking a few kilometers before the monster climb starts here. And we're talking about 25 kilometer climb, Monte Grappa. And we know right now with the lead of Vasek and Astana right up there, Conchi, along with De Preto, that the group behind is being led by Movistar. Now, Movistar are riding the front. They rode the front to begin with. Then they attacked and left their teammate. Now they're riding the front again. Why didn't you just stay together and gain some more time? Why didn't Astana ride with you and not have Conchi up here? These 2 teams are a bit of knuckleheads. Okay, we get on the climb proper. We see the 3 riders. They started blowing up. And we see Vasek getting dropped. Now we go back and look at the peloton. UAE team members is on the front. They're driving, but not driving hard. They're just setting some tempo up this climb, but we start seeing some of the big guys like Mads Pedersen, the sprinters, getting dropped on this climb early. We still have 1 rider up the road, and that rider's Conchi from Astana. Now, he's going solo up there, but he's got teammates back there, and Fortunato's wearing the KOM jersey, so I don't know what Conchi's doing, but the break is starting to blow up, and then we see it all kind of come back together. As it comes back together, we got about 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers to go, and you see Conchi asking everyone to start working together. Conchi, why didn't you guys work with Movistar originally when this break started? You guys could have had 5, 6 minutes at the start of this climb. Instead, you guys and Movistar were doing some knucklehead tactics, and now you want everyone to help. Well, you get what you get, and this is how you get repaid, because the time when we start looking at the peloton, who now have Ineos on the front, is still at about 3.5 minutes, and Ineos start driving it hard with Lucas Hamilton. Hamilton starts driving it, and he's going to pull off, and then we're going to see Jonathan Castroviejo on the front pulling. If I back it up just a hair, Josh Tarling spent some time on the front too when he got dropped out of the break and came back, so he was pulling on the front, but now we got Jonathan Castroviejo on the front, and then he's going to lead all the way up until Egan Bernal throws in a huge acceleration and attack. Okay, I don't like this move. I call this a knucklehead move. We're too far out. We're 90 plus kilometers out right now when Egan Bernal's throwing in attack. He has no teammates left up in that group, and we'll call it about 15 guys up there, 20, whatever it happens to be. It might be 25. I can't remember. But Egan Bernal has no teammates up there. But when Egan Bernal's attacking, you see Del Toro on his wheel following him, and you see Carapaz coming across. That's 3 riders in the front group, and they're all 3 in the top 10 of the general classification. But Del Toro's not going to work with you if you're Egan Bernal, that's for certain. He has no reason. He's got teammates back there, Ayuso, and all he has is Igor Arieta at the front, and it's still over 90 kilometers to go, so he's not going to work. Our Ensman's going to bridge across, and then we're going to see as we get near the top, we'll see Derek G bridge across as Del Toro's putting his jacket on. So it's not going too fast up here, but we get 5 GC riders. Now we start looking at that break going over the top, we'll see that it's Fortunato that grabs maximum KOM points here. but then we see attack by Frigo going over the top of the climb down the descent. As Frigo's throwing in attack, I'm sitting on the Chesterfield thinking, well, you got Derek G back there with the 5 guys. We see our Ensman, as he crossed the top of the KOM and started to descend, he started having arguments with Del Toro about not wanting to work. Why would Del Toro work our Ensman? There's 2 of you guys. So he's got his whole teammate back there pulling on the front right now from UAE team members because Ayuso's back there. So there's no reason for him to work, just to have a mechanical up here or something to have no teammates left when you still got 85 kilometers to go. So Frigo's going up the road, even though he's got G back there, and our Ensman's yelling there at Del Toro because he won't work, rightly so. But we start looking at the group behind us. We know it's UAE team members that took all the other GC favorites over the top of KOM. We'll call it about 20, 30 seconds back from the time up there of the Ineos-led train of 2 guys, our Ensman and Egan Bernal. Now, we do see Carapaz start working. We do see Derek G working, even though Frigo's going up the road from the break up there. He could always drop him back and pull on the front, but they don't choose that tactic because Frigo might be used for something later. So, as we see the group back there and we see Del Toro sitting on it, we're going to come into the valley, and we got Frigo still up the road. And then the original group back there of 35 guys that shrank in size going up over that climb that's now reached the bottom of the descent, well, they all get caught. We see, of course, Del Toro in this front group, and then we're going to see the UAE train behind that latched onto the back of these guys. So everything's together with the exception that Frigo's up the road solo. Now, as everything's all together at this moment with 65 kilometers to go, we got the whole group compact, and you know this time everybody needs a little bit of time to get back to the car, but nope, it's time to keep attacking. So we see right away it's Carlos Verona throwing in attack from Lidl Trek. As he's throwing in attack, he's got some company, and they'll start bridging. It'll start getting a little bit bigger. We'll call it 7 guys, then it turns into 8 guys, then it turns into 9, then they catch Frigo up front, so they got 10, 11 guys in this front break, and UAE team members back off the throttle because nobody's a threat in this group. We're coming up to the KOM climb, the 3rd one here on stage 15, and as this climb starts, they got about 3.5 minutes. Verona hits it at the back of the group there, and then he throws in attack to the right side. As soon as the climb started, the Lidl Trek rider's not afraid. He throws an attack to the right side, and we see the riders looking over to the right. As Carlos Verona from Lidl Trek goes flying right by him. As Carlos Verona gets in the front, he looks back over his shoulder, realizes he's got a gap and stays on the throttle, and as he looked forward, we see one more attack from Pseudo Quickstep over there. That's Jean-Marco. As Jean-Marco throws in attack, he's trying to bridge up to Carlos Verona and gets almost to his back wheel, but Carlos Verona throws in another acceleration and keeps going solo here as Jean-Marco still trying to catch up to Carlos Verona, but is losing a little bit of time. We go back and look at what's happening to the break. It starts getting a little bit smaller as we see the next attacks coming from Filippo Zana from Jaco Lula. Now we go back to the peloton as the peloton's coming in the beginning of this climb about 3.5 minutes back. And we see UAE team members let into it, but Ineos want to hop on the front again. They're trying a part 2 attack here. It didn't work on the last climb just before Monte Grappa, but now they're going to try it again at the bottom of the climb with about a 3.5 minute gap to the leaders up front of Carlos Verona and Jean-Marco chasing along with Zana chasing him. So as we see Ineos on the front, they start drilling. It's Lucas Hamilton on the front. He's going to do a solid pace, but he still has this group sizable. And we see that Bahrain Victorious are in this group. We see UAE team members are solid. Bora Hansgrohe are near the back part of this group, but we're still got about 35 riders left in this group. And Bora Hansgrohe have teammates because Danny Martinez was originally in that front group. Aliotte was in the original front group. And of course, Pellizzari was staying along with Primoz Roglic the whole time. So we got 4 Bora Hansgrohe riders. I'd call them about 2/3 of the way back of this group being led by Ineos. As we go up to the front, we're coming into the Red Bull sprint competition with about 33 kilometers to go. Carlos Verona is doing a fantastic job going solo as he crosses, but he's got some guys hot on his heel. As we look, we see that, of course, it's Pseudo Quickstep, Jean-Marco there, and Zana's going to catch up to him just after or just about the time of the Red Bull sprint competition. So those 2 guys are coming together, and they're still about 10, 15 seconds behind Verona. We start looking at the next guys back there, and it's the leftover, but they're still losing time at about 30 and 40 and 50 seconds back there from the time of Verona. We go further down. Now we got Ineos coming into the Red Bull sprint competition with Jonathan Castroviejo still about 700 meters away, 200 meters away. Then he's done, and Egan Bernal throws an attack as he's crossing the line of the Red Bull Sprint competition. He'll cross the line, he's blown it up. Del Toro's locked onto his wheel, and the peloton's getting interested and strung out. As it slows down on the front because Egan Bernal knows he's got Del Toro on his wheel, our Ansman throws an attack. With the attack of our Ansman, I thought, okay, this is a good attack, but he gets brought back. He doesn't quite have the legs there to hold off the GC guys, and Del Toro's all over the front right now. As Ineos riders both are unsuccessful with their attack, and we see Cepeda get on the front for EF Education. With Cepeda throwing down on the pedals, he's got Carapaz locked on his wheel. We know for sure what's going to happen here. Carapaz has already won a stage at the Giro d'Italia, and we know he's got some good form for EF Education at this moment because they told us so before the Giro started. And we saw the stage win. With that in mind, with Cepeda on the front blowing things up, the peloton's starting to get smaller and smaller, and then bam, as Cepeda blows, Carapaz throws in attack. As we see Egan Bernal and Ayuso are in the mix too, with put 4 riders in the front. Just behind them, Bahrain victorious duel. We got Caruso up there and Tibieri second. They're trying to close the gap. Tibieri looks like he's hurting a little bit, but he gets the job done. We put about 6 guys in the front move, and we look at the next group that's bridging across. It's some more GC favorites like Stora and Derek G and company, but Primoz Roglic isn't there. The big favorite to win the Giro d'Italia starting to blow right now. I have the 3 crashes caught up to Primoz Roglic at this moment. Well, we're going to have to find out because he's not closing the gap. But up front, they start to slow down a little bit because Del Toro's not working. Ayuso sitting on, and Del Toro's doing a marvelous job of shutting everything and every attack possible that's being made here coming up the final climb on this stage 15. But we look further back, we see Primoz Roglic is still losing time. He's got Danny Martinez with him, and he's got Pellizzari with him, but he's still dropping from the back wheel of Pellizzari, and you see Pellizzari's got to back off the throttle and come back for Primoz Roglic. But we're coming into about 1 kilometer to go of this last and final climb of stage 15, so Primoz Roglic has got to get it back together, and he's got 2 teammates helping him out. We see Tom Pidcock's in that group too. Then we start going back up to the front. Well, Verona's going over the top of the KOM with about a 12-15 second gap on Zana and, of course, on John Marco back there. The next group's holding about 40 seconds as they come over the top, but when we start looking at the favorites, we're not done attacking. We're nearing the top. We're coming in about 800, 700 meters to go. We're going to see Derek G throw an attack. Del Toro's got it covered as the pink jersey looks marvelous. Ayuso's a little bit at the back of this group. I'll call it about 11 guys. McNulty's in this group from UAE Team Emirates, but he's been hurt and possibly have dropped off the back at this moment. We see the next attack from Simon Yates with a few hundred meters to go. Del Toro again is all over it. Del Toro's looking marvelous in the pink jersey. Guys, he's playing with the balls of everyone. As you see him looking back over his shoulder, Del Toro's got it under control. Ayuso's still in this group, and they'll go over the top of the KOM, 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the lead time there, Verona. But we start looking further back. Primoz Roglic is still losing some time as he goes over at about 45, 55 seconds from the lead group of GC favorites up there, but he's got some teammates still with him, so he's got a chance coming down the descent. As the GC favorites drop over the descent, Brandon McNulty still in the front group and goes to the front and starts setting some tempo. As he does, he starts backing the throttle off, and as he backs the throttle off, more UAE team members come the front as Rafael Maica's there, and then Adam Yates makes an appearance too. So UAE team members have 5 riders in the front, and Del Toro sitting pretty, and so is Ayuso with 3 Super Domestiques on the front, and this group's about 20 riders strong. We go up front. Verona still dropping down the descent, and he's still got 2 riders chasing him. They're holding about 15 seconds until we get into about 20 kilometers to go. Once we get in there, Verona's finally cracked the 2 riders behind him, and the time gap goes up to about 26 seconds. As Verona's going solo, he no longer has to worry about the 2 guys, but he does have to worry about the peloton of GC favorites, because when we start looking at them, well, they caught some of the breakaway riders, and now we got 5 teams chasing on the front. Viz Melissa bikes on the front with Bart Lemon there. Pale Bilbao from Bahrain Victorious is on the front. Frigo got wrapped up from Israel Premier Tech. He's on the front. UAE Team Emirates are like, wow, if we're going to get some help, we'll go ahead and ride the front too and ride hard. So we got 5 teams that are pulling hard to make sure that Primoz Roglic cannot get back up to this front group as the Slovenian back there is losing time on stage 15. Up front, we're coming into about 10 kilometers to go, and you know at this moment that Verona's looking pretty solid for a stage victory. He's got a 50-second gap on the group behind him, 1:30 on the GC favorites, and 3 minutes on Primoz Roglic's group, so he's lost 1:30 to the GC guys. As Verona crosses the last 3 kilometers, there was when he starts the descent. Now you know for sure he's got the victory as Verona's flying down the descent. If I back the film up just a hair to just under 10 kilometers to go, the 2 riders end up getting caught by 4 riders. So you got 6 riders chasing Verona right now, but they're too far back to be able to make up the 35 seconds with 3 kilometers to go as Verona's dropping down the descent. He comes around the bend with 1 kilometer to go, and as he comes into the final few hundred meters, Carlos Verona is going to celebrate a big victory here at the Giro d'Italia, stage 15, as he sits up in disbelief. Both hands go up to his face as he can't believe what he's just done. Then he takes the time to zip up his jersey, raise his hands, and cross the line in a huge celebration here for Lidl Trek winning their 6th stage of the 25 Giro d'Italia. Right behind them, we see Florian Stork from Tudor Cycling round out for 2nd, and 3rd is going to round out from the Stana rider as we see Christian Scaroni round out the podium here. We go a few seconds after that, we see it's the GC favorites coming across the line, and then we see Primoz Roglic across the line at 2 minutes from today's stage winner Carlos Verona. As the cameras find Verona, as he crossed the finish line, he finds his family. He's getting hugs and kisses from all his ladies in his family as we see his wife there giving big-time smooches and his 2 girls giving him hugs. As we know, Carlos Verona is going to celebrate a huge victory. This is a super domestique rider that does not get to win often. Now, in his press conference afterwards, we'll see Verona talk about how he said he wanted to win today's stage, and he thought he missed the tack there of 35 riders 75 kilometers after the start of today's stage when that group went away. He was upset that he missed it, but it came back together. He threw in the next attack that, of course, brought him into the final climb and then lit everyone up to solo for about 40-45 kilometers to go in today's stage. So congratulations, Carlos Verona. Well-deserved, spectacular win. Having your family there at the finish was marvelous for you, I'm sure. And then when you look at the hug from Del Toro afterwards, you can see the camaraderie between the teams here, the 2 different teams of Lidl Trek and UAE Team Emirates, as Del Toro solidifies his time on Primoz Roglic from Bora Hansgrohe. You got to start asking yourself as we get ready to start the 3rd week here of the Giro d'Italia, is Del Toro the next rider from UAE Team Emirates to be dominant the European peloton? Well, one thing's for sure, if he wins the Giro, he'll be the first Mexican from his country to ever win a Grand Tour. So, with 6 stages left at the Giro d'Italia and Tuesday after the rest day tomorrow, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.